here we are, at the end of 1933. Both Japan and Germany have left the League of Nations. Japan's military is running amok in China, telling the civilian government to take a hike, and Hitler and the Nazis have taken control of Germany with the blessings of the German people. In Soviet Russia, Joseph Stalin has consolidated his power, and it is the time to make the Ukrainians pay for their insolence. The collectivization of the farms begin. If you remember from my last video, I talked about the class of farmers known as Gulags in the Ukraine. In January of 1930, the Politburo of the Soviet Union approved the legislation on measures for the elimination of the Gulag households in the districts of comprehensive collectivization. This document divided kulaks into three categories: those that should be shot or imprisoned, those that should be deported, and this included the families of the first group, and those that should be expelled from the kolkhoz, or collective farms, and given areas of poor land. In February of 1930, around a quarter of all farm animals were slaughtered and eaten by the peasants facing collectivization because they did not want them going to the collective. Then, on April 25th, the Gulag was officially established. These are the correctional forced labor camps that were used to punish political dissidents. They were to be used to house people that were seen as a threat or deemed disruptive to the functioning of the Soviet state. The kulaks were sent there immediately. During 1932, quotas for grains to be turned into the state for the Ukraine were raised by 42%. This meant that Ukraine, which was mostly the most productive agricultural region in the Soviet Union, had higher quotas, which meant that there would not be enough food for the population of the Ukraine. This is despite the fact that the people were literally starving to death due to the Soviet policy of not allowing the peasants to have access to food produced by the collective until the quota had been met. The food was actually not redistributed back to the people. It was sold internationally to finance the industrialization of the Soviet Union. Around 7 million Ukrainians starved to death. Oh, and the Ukrainians were forbidden to leave the areas where everyone was starving. If they left, they were shot. That is 7 million individuals with hopes, dreams, aspirations, all in a year or so. Yes, some people turn to cannibalism to survive. There are horrifying stories in the history books. People couldn't even let their children outside for the fear the neighbors would eat them. And this actually happened. Can you imagine living in a time or a place when your government had complete life and death control of your existence? You could be shot for pretty much anything, your family could be shot or pretty much anything, or you could be sent to be worked to death at a gulag. You absolutely are not allowed to say anything against the state or the leader of the state. Zero freedoms and death for you and your family at any time waiting around the corner. Then Stalin's second five-year plan goes into effect. In Italy, the fascist party is in complete control of the press, the educational system, and leisure time of the Italian people. People were encouraged to attend concerts, sporting events, and other activities. Women were encouraged to have as many babies as possible. Mussolini wanted the population of Italy to be increased greatly through having a bunch of children. There were even tax breaks given to big families. Through all of this, there were spies for the fascists everywhere. Any subversive activity was quickly snuffed out. Again, fear is a great motivator of the people. When any country's leader must create an atmosphere of total fear of speaking out against them, they should probably re-examine their purpose. But fear wasn't the only thing that kept the fascists in power. There was the fact that Mussolini spent billions on the public sector. He funded the building of schools and infrastructures. As it was written by Christopher Hibbert in his book Benito Mussolini, a biography, Mussolini instituted a program of public works hitherto unrivaled in modern Europe. Bridges, canals, and roads were built. Hospitals and schools, railway stations and orphanages. Swamps were drained and land reclaimed. Forests were planted and universities were endowed. The fascists also greatly reduced the power and influence of the mob in Italy. Yes, even organized crime was nearly eliminated by the fascists. Talk about control. This is seen by other countries as an economic blueprint. Lastly, Colonial Libya, which was initially called Italian North Africa, which was seized back in 1912, became known as the Italian Fourth Shore. The first being the West Adriatic, the second being the Tyrrhenian Sea, third being the Mediterranean Sea, and the fourth being the yet-to-be-conquered east coast of the Adriatic, so named by Mussolini as he has plans of expanding the Italian Empire. There was massive infrastructure investment by Italy in northern Africa in what is now Libya. There will be a military skirmish or two in this region later on, as you will see. In the next video, I will be talking about other parts of the world at the beginning of the Great Depression: United States, Great Britain, and France. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And the best way to share this with a friend is just tell them to go to www.historyonyoutube.com. I'm Mike with World War II with Mike W., the history of the 95 Years' War. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.